We have Kamran Yousuf, our analyst, on the line to further elaborate on that. Kamran Yousuf, am I audible to you?
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay,
yes, I can hear you.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you. So, as you know, that Iran's Abbas Araghchi, he said that the Strait of Hormuz is now fully open. And Trump also tweeted that it won't be used as a weapon against the world. So what do you have to say about that?
I think this is part of the back-channel diplomacy that Pakistan has been undertaking since the first round of talks in Islamabad could not lead to any breakthrough. Remember when the temporary ceasefire was announced, one of the conditions of that temporary ceasefire that Iran would reopen the Strait of Hormuz during that 15-day period. But U.S. accused Iran of not abiding by that part of the ceasefire deal. However, Iran, on the other hand, insisted since Lebanon was not included in that ceasefire, originally it was part of the ceasefire deal, and that was the major point of contention between the two countries, even during the first round of talks. But on Friday, as you know, or yesterday, as you know, that U.S. has finally brokered a deal between Israel and Lebanon, and a 10-day ceasefire was announced. A key demand of Iran was met. And after that, Iran now announced a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz during that ceasefire period. But I think a lot of credit must have been given to Pakistan Army Chief and a Field Marshal traveled to Tehran and held key negotiations with not just with the political but the military leadership of Iran. And I think that led to the breakthrough between Iran and the U.S. And now hopefully this will lead to a formal negotiations once again between Iran and the U.S. in Islamabad.
Exactly. And since the blockade is now open, so what do you think could happen to the global oil prices? Would it decrease or would it stay stagnant? What would happen to the global oil market and the oil prices all around the world, especially Middle East?
I think already we are seeing trends that the prices in the oil market are going down quite rapidly since this announcement, because since Iran announced the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, so certainly there is a positive sentiment. People now feel that deal is very much possible. So this will have a positive impact, and already we are seeing trends that the prices in the international oil market is going down. And I think once the two sides reach an agreement, this will further go down, and certainly this is a positive development.
Right. And what do you think could be the crucial initiative when it comes to these agreements, the permanent agreement, as we all are looking for a permanent agreement between U.S. and Iran? So what do you think could be the key initiative or the driving force for this permanent agreement?
I think the one driving force that, of course, the 6-week war, we saw that how devastating it had been, not just in terms of the human and the material loss, but for the global economy. And the fear was that if this war dragged on, that would lead to a global recession. So absolutely there was no incentive for both sides, neither Iran nor U.S., to go on with this war. Now the big question is, of course, we understand that issues between Iran and the U.S. are old. U.S. wants that Iran does not develop a nuclear program, despite the fact that Iran has repeatedly stated that they have absolutely no ambition to pursue a nuclear program, but U.S. does not agree. So on that count, I think there are two key questions. One, the already enriched uranium that is there in Tehran, the 60%, what would happen to that? There are indications that some way out has been found. Either it would be handed over to a third country, or it would be downgraded where you cannot develop a nuclear weapon. Second, of course, the enrichment of uranium for civilian purposes. The U.S. wanted that there should be a moratorium of 20 years. Iran was insisting that the moratorium should be for 5 years. But we do not know what happened during those discussions that was being led by the Pakistani side. So certainly those are the issues that we need to keep an eye on when both sides meet in Islamabad. But I believe that most of the work has already been done or is being done behind the scenes. So when they meet in Islamabad, it is very likelihood that session would be just a formality, and both sides initially, I believe, will sign a memorandum of understanding, and then in phase-wise implement those decisions.
Okay, so like despite this announcement and the tweets that we have seen about the Strait of Hormuz being open, what do you think could be the further, or are there any security risks when it comes to the ships and everything through the Strait of Hormuz? Because Trump recently also tweeted that the blockade will remain with Iran until and unless the negotiated points are achieved. So for other ships, what do you think could be like the main security risk?
I think the U.S. naval blockade was earlier even a posturing, because I spoke to many people that was not practically a naval blockade. If there was generally a naval blockade, then the situation would have been different, because since President Trump announced the U.S. naval blockade, there was no single incident we saw in the Strait of Hormuz or close to Iran. So it was just a posturing. And even now, when he said that, he keeps the naval blockade till the final agreement, again, I believe this is posturing. So given that how things are moving forward behind the scene and now those decisions are being made public, I don't see any, major risk involved as far as this key waterway and, ships passing through.